Deputy Boyd-Barrett, please.
Taoiseach, the Taoiseach this morning said that most people in this country will be better off after yesterday's budget, and you've more or less reiterated that myth. And I think it is critically important to puncture that myth and get across the truth about what happened in yesterday's budget. Now, to be honest, even the most elementary arithmetic looking at the details of the budget will show that that is not true. Minister Donoghue pointed out that inflation is running at 3.7%. The Taoiseach actually got the figure wrong this morning and said it was less than 3%, but at least Minister Donoghue knows what the rate of inflation is. And you can add to that the carbon tax increases and the energy price hikes. But I want to zone in on one particular group, and I want to use examples from your own budget to show how you really disgracefully let down renters in this country, and that your claim that little bit of adjustments in terms of USC in any way compensate for that is simply not true. And I want to use some of the examples because I actually bother to read your budget books. And in the tax policy changes, you give example 3 of Mairead, who is single and works in hospitality, and she earns €30,000 a year. Working in hospitality, Mairead, single, very likely she's a renter. Very likely she's a renter. You also give the example of Rowan and Nicole, with one child, self-employed, earning €40,000 a year. Very likely a renter. How much did you give them in terms of a break on the tax they pay? Well, Mairead got the grand total of 0.5% increase. 0.5%. Rowan and Nicole got 0.5. Less than 0.5%. And that's where the majority of people in this country are earning average industrial wages or median wages, against an inflation rate of 3.7%. In other words, the rise in the cost of living will wipe out by about 5 or 6 times what you've given to Mairead and Rowan and Nicole. But the situation in terms of rent is even worse. The figures on average rents in Dublin now are in fact higher than Deputy MacDonald pointed out. The DAFT report in August said average rents in Dublin are now 2,000. They're 2,200 in South County Dublin, and in Dublin City just marginally under 2,000. Those increased in the 3 months of the second quarter of this year by 5.7%, on top of 4.4% last year. And of course, many of the people in rented accommodation also have poor quality, badly insulated homes where they've no control over the cost of energy price hikes. So isn't it actually the truth that you have done nothing for Mairead, nothing for Rowan and Nicole and their child?
Thank you, Deputy.
And for the vast majority of renters who are seeing rents go through the roof, completely unaffordable, as well as other costs that they have to bear, like energy costs, carbon tax increases, and so on. You have badly let them down. Isn't that the truth, Taoiseach?
Taoiseach, please.
No, it's not the truth, Deputy Boyd-Barrett, and I think the first point I would make is that the overall context of this budget is, as we have emerged from, hopefully, and there are still some challenges around COVID-19, and I have to put that on the record. We're not out of the woods yet in relation to COVID-19, but the vaccination programme and the phased reopening of the economy and society has meant a faster and more accelerated economic recovery than anybody anticipated 2 or 3 months ago. And that's of value to everybody in society, including renters. Because between 2021 and 2022, we're looking at potentially 400,000 jobs returning to the economy. That's fundamental to people who are renting. It's fundamental to all of our people. And we need to try and consolidate that now and maintain that. So the budget's in that context of just dealing with a once-in-a-century pandemic. And notwithstanding that, we were in a position to give modest relief to people. We're not saying it's the be-all and end-all. We're saying the indexation does help people, the indexation of tax. I don't know whether you're opposing it or not, but we think the indexation of tax credits and bans helps a lot of people on low income and middle incomes and renters, modestly. But then you add other cost of living assistance through, for example, the investment in childcare will consolidate capacity within childcare, particularly people who are working in childcare, who are renters as well. And I think yesterday's budget is a significant turning point for pay and conditions within the childcare sector and creating career pathways for people in childcare, which we urgently need to do. And we'll have to build on that then in subsequent budgets in terms of making childcare more affordable. Because childcare and rent are the two big pressure points on many, many people out in society. The most effective economic way to deal with rents is to get more houses built, both affordable houses and social houses. And our resources are targeted in that direction, whilst at the same time putting in about 600 million to support those on very low incomes who, because of an absence of enough social housing, are renting through the HAP scheme, through RAS, and who are also benefiting from rent supplement. And that cannot be ignored either, and does represent a significant targeting of resources by government to people on very low incomes who are renting right now. And then if you take the health area, for the individuals you spoke about in terms of the increase and expansion of access to free GP care, the reduction in terms of drug payment contributions, and other initiatives, such as the abolition of hospital charges for paediatrics. All of that, if you take it in the round, and the investment in education and the DESH schools, for example, which is quite a significant expansion of DESH investment, and along with the investment in special needs education, I think you take it in the round, we're helping a lot of people in a very targeted, I think, and effective way. And the mechanisms that have been put forward in terms of more direct relief for renters are not ones that most economists believe would have the desired impact in terms of the rental market itself and improving it. They believe it could potentially have the opposite effect.
Deputy Boyd-Barrett.
Well, first of all, we have a different view about how you deal with rents than some of the opposition parties here. We think we should control rents like they do in other countries and set rents at affordable levels based on people's income and the size of the property. Not refunds, not things that will inflate the market, actual rent controls. But you see, I'll go back to Mairead. Mairead is paying between €18,000, based on average Dublin rents, between €18,000 and €24,000 a year in rent, after tax on her €30,000 income. Similarly, Rowan and Nicole. How are they possibly supposed to manage that? And how do the abysmal, derisory measures you've just referred to in any way deal with that? They don't. They simply don't. And for you to mention HAPS is just unbelievable. The vast majority of people in HAPS in Dublin are paying top-ups to their landlords because the HAP limits are too low, and the landlords are creaming it with public money they're getting for these rents of $18,000, $2,000 a month and $2,200. Creaming it with public money. And they're getting tax breaks on the rental revenue and the capital gains they make on that property. While Mairead and Rowan and Nicole and their child and tens of other thousands of renters
Thank you, Deputy.
Are being absolutely screwed to the wall, and there is not one word in the budget books about renters. Not
Thank you,
a single word.
You're wrong. You know it. The only way to deal with renting situations is to build houses, provide houses for Mairead and all the people that you've mentioned. It's the only way to do it, ultimately, is to build far more social houses than we've built before, to build far more affordable houses than we've built before. You're not in favour of the affordable housing approach. You're not actually. But you've opposed projects left, right and centre because it wasn't the right mix for representatives on councils and so on. You've opposed. Yeah, there you. But it's opposing. Do you not get it that if you don't get supply fast, you can hold up projects for 5 years, for 4 years? That's what's doing more damage to renters than anything else. I can count up to 6,000 units that have been opposed by people opposite. Like that's political hypocrisy in the end of the day. We need supply. We need supply, both social housing at a scale that we haven't done, going back maybe to the 30s, 50s, 60s and 70s. We need to go back to that. and gets substantial social housing built. We also need to get affordable houses built as well. And we do need private sector development as well. We do need a private sector developing and building houses as well, so that we can reduce the dependency on the rental market that unfortunately so many people. And on rent controls, the freeze, we're told constitutionally, it's just unconstitutional is what we're being told. It's easy to keep shouting the freeze for 3 years. We're being told it can't be done.
Deputy Noel Grealish.